home. But first of all, the tradition around Halloween, the beginning of Samhain or Samhain or Samhain, as some people say, the festival of wisdom, of carving turnips and pumpkins, goes back about 7,000 years. It marks the beginning of the Celtic year by welcoming home family ghosts and spirits to the place they loved, your house. The foods they enjoyed would be prepared and shared, while one portion would be set aside for the departed. Now, the custom is still very much a way of life in Mexico, France and Spain, and it's such a major tradition that the day after Halloween, that's tomorrow, All Saints' Day, is a public holiday in France. In northern Britain, people would leave garlic on the sill of west-facing windows to summon their ancestors to their house. In times gone by, cattle would be brought from the hills and slaughtered for the winter. One would be sacrificed and used as an early barbecue for everybody surrounding to gather around and pay tribute to their dead. It was a very superstitious time. There was a massive fear of the unknown. Bonfires were lit to protect their towns and villages from evil spirits. And over time, this became a tradition stolen by Guy Fawkes. But it was a ritual stolen from pagan law. Now, on Halloween, we symbolise that fire in a single candle placed by a window to demonstrate our wish that spirit would enter our homes and make contact. Those who are frightened would carve a horrible face into the side of a pumpkin or a turnip. Then, by placing a small candle inside, they would illuminate the horrid grin. The lantern would be placed outside a front door to keep ghosts and mischievous demons away. However, the story of Jack-o'-lantern is quite interesting because he died 2,000 years before the birth of Christ. Some say Jack was a legendary figure who had escaped from hell, but found himself trapped in limbo, forced to carry red-hot coals for all eternity. Yet northern European pagans tell of a man called Jack, who came from the light to show people a better way. This man was capable of miracles, turning water into wine, feeding thousands of people who followed to hear him speak. He cured the lame and the diseased, and he raised the dead back to life. Jacques, Julien appear in pagan histories of many countries, yet the story was completely erased by Christian teaching, as they needed to claim there'd only been one Messiah. There were many Messiahs. Interesting to note that Jack was executed by a king who had him nailed to a tree, pinning, as it was known in witch circles. Jesus was also pinned, nailed to a cross for his activities. Now, Jack, the great pagan from centuries long forgotten, all except his jack-o'-lantern, yet if you have a turnip or a pumpkin that is hollowed out, as I suggested you did, the surface on the outside must not be punctured, because this is an ancient way of telling your future. Now, what I want you to do is get a pen and pencil or a pad, piece of paper, something that you can jot down what happens next. Now, with a knife or a sharp object, and be very careful not to cut yourself. Screwdriver's probably a good idea. You make quite a small hole with a screwdriver in a pumpkin or a turnip. What I want you to do is to puncture one side of the vegetable with 2 holes for eyes. Just tiny holes. Not the huge pumpkin eyes that you see people carrying around. 2 small holes for eyes, 1 hole for a nose, and 4 holes at least an inch apart to form a wide grinning mouth. So in total you have 7 holes. You place a candle into the vegetable and you light it. You put the lid on the top of the vegetable. Now, once you've done that, I'll explain how you can tell your own future with this. It's not an exact science, as you probably realize. The pad and paper is to write down any observations. The candle inside will leave the top on, so smoke will escape through the holes that you've made. Now you must look through each hole in turn, beginning with the mouth, the 4 across the mouth, leading up to the eyes. And what you have to do is close your eyes, or close one eye very tightly. Hold the eye up against the hole for the mouth, and then open your eye for a second. At this stage, we should read a rhyme. I'll do it for you. Jack-o'-lantern burning bright, let me pass through time this night, seeing not a future set, but possibilities that may yet be seized by me. as paths unfold, Jack, guide me to a fate untold. Now, once that's been read in your house, as it has by me, you close your eyes tight, you open them, look through the mouth, the first mouth hole, and then you write down the first image that comes clear in your mind's eye. Now, you continue to write each vision down and then spread them across your year, matching them to things planned, and see what future has in store for you. Now, what you should do is then cook or eat a tiny piece of pumpkin to absorb the magical properties of this rite. Leave the candle to burn out. If you extinguish it, the good fortune from the year ahead may not occur. Now, the first hole symbolizes your career and working life, the first along the mouth. Stare into the first hole and write down the first thing that comes into your mind about your job and what you need to do to make it better. What you see in your mind's eye while staring towards the flame. Now, you should have done that by now. Let's move to the second hole of the mouth. It symbolizes your parents. Sometimes people see happiness, death, illness, accidents. Prepare to be shocked or surprised. Those of you who are gifted will have the skill shown to you here. The third hole of the mouth represents children. Stare into the light, see their future, and all you will need to do, don't hesitate to write notes so that later you can remember just what happened. The fourth and final hole of the mouth represents animals, birds, pets. Look into the shadowy light. Write down the first thing that enters your mind. The hole made for the nose should be next, representing good fortune or misfortune. Stare and see what life has in store for you. Should the candle go out at this point, you may not have long left. Let's hope it doesn't. Death could visit you or your home or a member of your family, according to ancient legend. The first eye hole symbolizes your health and fitness, problems and solutions. Will things be better or worse? As I said, it isn't an exact science, but it can give you an idea, and you'll start to feel what may happen in your life next. And the second eye hole represents love and relationships. Before looking into that hole, fill your mind with those you love or who you wish to love, and see what the future has in store. If you have a gift, this task should show it to you. Thanks to that late and often forgotten Jack-o'-lantern. So that's what your pumpkin's for, to tell your future. We got a lot more stuff to come on Alan Robson's Night Owls.
Think you're a bright spark? Think you're a bright spark? Fancy winning a Sony DVD player plus 10 DVDs? Metro Radio and British Gas want to put you to the test. Think you're up to it? You're up to it. Check breakfast from 6. Answer 3 questions correctly and win. Plus, check the British Gas Bright Sparks Roadshow at the Metro Centre on November the 2nd and get switched on to cheap electricity. There's no place like a British Gas home. Next week with Metro Radio.
Expansions. Elevation, move your body. Revisit the classic club anthem. Remixed for 2002 by the Nordlander. Elevation by Expansions. The club classic. Out the 18th of November.
This is Badly Drawn Boy. If you are not familiar with this stuff, pretend you are, because on Saturday in The Guardian, you'll find a free Badly Drawn Boy CD. So remember these key facts. His real name is Damon Gough. He wears a woolly hat. His first album won the Mercury Music Prize, and then he did the soundtrack to About a Boy, the film based on the Nick Hornby book. Nick Hornby? Author, very famous. Oh, come on.
Free Badly Drawn Boy CD, including 2 tracks from his new album Have You Fed the Fish, only in The Guardian on Saturday.
At Dainty Supplies, our brand new range of dolls' houses, furniture, kits and accessories makes the perfect Christmas gift choice for children, adults or collectors. And all at Dainty's famously low prices. The Dolls House selection at Dainty Supplies, Crowther Industrial Estate, District 3, Washington. Call 0191 416 7886. Open 7 days.
The Ashington Education Achievement Zone wants you to see how far your pound can go. We need your donations to our new e-learning charity to provide pupils with daily access to a laptop computer. As little as £1 a week will make a huge difference to our children's future. Watch out for information about how to join the scheme at local schools or phone 01670 528 205. The Ashington EAZ, in partnership with you, helping schools look forward to the future.
They make the rules.
Do we serve water in this bar?
No! They're Coyotes.
No one, yes, no one can beat the Coyote girls on our Buck and Bull. How's that for a challenge? How long can you stay on? Beat the clock and win prizes. Beat us and who knows what you might get. Coyote Wild, open 9:30 till 2 Thursday through Sunday. The Northeast wildest party venue opens October 31st.
Coyote Wild, Mile End Road, South Shields. Clubbing will never be the same. Trick or treat this Halloween? Forget it. It just wouldn't be Halloween without Michael Myers in Halloween Resurrection. Starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Busta Rhymes, and Tyra Banks. Halloween Resurrection. At cinemas now, rated 15. Hello. Why is it that when you've got something really important to say, you run out of... Well, now you can add extra texts to your pay monthly with bolt-ons from O2. See? You can bolt on up to 800 texts for as little as 4p a text. Just pop in store. Leave it. Oh, go on then. See what you can do. O2. Minimum term contract and conditions apply. Excludes premium rate.
Now, as you know, John Murray from Peter Lee is a non-believer and a skeptic. His letter read, "Nothing can scare me because there is no such thing as ghosts." Well, now he's buried underground beneath where the Bawley Rectory stood, a place of demonic and satanic activity. I was actually going to be there myself until his letter arrived. He was petrified after 5 minutes. He's been there now over an hour. John, are you there?
Oh, this is not funny. I've heard all kinds of noises and just a minute ago, something pushed past us.
Past you?
Not like somebody trying to let you know they were there.
Uh-huh.
You know, I've seen rats and cockroaches and I keep getting a glimpse of things moving.
Yeah?
I've checked out all of these different places and there's nobody there.
So you've seen ghosts there? Actual ghosts?
Let me put it this way, I don't really know what I've seen.
Right.
But there is something down here with us.
Have you heard anything?
I've heard voices and all.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I really want to be down here much longer, mind.
You mean you want to get out already?
Well, I think you've made your point. I take it all back. I mean, listen.
You can hear noises, listen.
I don't know whether you're picking that up.
Yes.
It's really loud in here, echoing round.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, about 20 minutes ago, I started feeling sick and all, and my heart's going 90 to the dozen. I sort of, when I sat down with my head in my hands, I heard laughing. And it was awful.
Yeah?
I really never thought that it would be anything like this.
But people who think they see ghosts are retarded, aren't they?
Wait, look, I'm sorry that I said that.
Are you retarded?
No.
Well, I'll talk to you in an hour. And in the meantime, we'll get as many calls on air as we possibly can. We've got, who's next? Paul, I think, from Throckley. Hiya, Paul.
Hi, Alan.
Hello, mate. What you got for us?
The wife's just been sitting on the study, looking out the window, and she can see a face in my curtains.
She can see a face in your curtains?
Right. Yep.
What does it look like? Wait, it was a man, a woman, or what?
It's just a young child.
How weird's that?
You know.
Have you got the light on, or you got your light
the
on?
light's on.
So this is in broad daylight, well, broad electric light.
Yeah.
There's a face in your curtain. Is it moving, or is it...
No, it's just staring.
It's staring at you? I mean, this is going to be a big night, isn't it?
It doesn't bother us, you know. Right. And I've got another thing.
Yeah, what's that?
You know Shakespeare He wrote about ghosts as well.
Yes, he did.
I've got a little few passages here. The light burns blue. It is now dead midnight. Cold, fearful drops stand on my trembling flesh. Methought the souls of all that I had murdered came to my tent. And that was from Richard III, Act 5, Scene 3.
There you go. Even Shakespeare knew.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Anything else?
No, that's it, Alan.
Lovely, good lad. Paul, waxing lyrical. Words from the bard. And Ian in Eden Vale says, great show. Great that your show's now broadcast over the net. Send out a big hi to Sean Oriento at Paxton, Florida, who's with us tonight. That's from Ian Metcalf and family. Thank you for that. And we're getting more messages. Andy and Gate said, I can only describe the lights and orbs. They're dancing around the stone. They're very fast. It's a little like a fast-moving sparkler, is what Andy says. We're trying to reach as many of our ghost hunters as we possibly can. Keith in North Shield says, can you tell me what's happening on the webcam? There's nothing but a black screen at the moment. There's nothing but a black studio. We're in pitch darkness in here. A few people have sent me photographs of the webcam, and there was one there. Don sent this one in and says, ghost in your studio. And he says, is that glowing shadow your body, or is it a ghost? It looks weird. I don't know what it is, but it's a black shape, and I don't know precisely what the webcam's it's pointing kind of towards me, but I'm wearing black. I'm in all black tonight. Black jeans, black t-shirt, and the figure that you have on your webcam is white. Now, I don't know what that means, but Dan from Washington, I'll put that on the net over the next couple of days so that you can check that out. Lindsay from Denton Burns on 6. Hiya, Lindsay.
Hello.
Hello, darling.
Right, hang on, everybody's going to shout hello because we're having a party.
Hey.
Hello, Alan.
Hello.
Ding, they're all shouting.
I can hear that. So what's your story then?
Right, I've got, my boyfriend Jeff rang me about 3 months ago or something it was now. About my brother Michael. He died when he was 4.
Right.
He didn't tell the story properly, so I'm going to tell you again.
Okay.
Right. My sister and me have different fathers.
Right.
And my mother, from her first marriage to Ray, had Michael and my Claire. And he was always really overprotective with my sister Claire. And he died when Claire was about 6 months old. And it was about 4 years later. She was about 4.5. And she'd woke up crying. My mum had gone to see her and make sure she was okay and that. And when she went into the bedroom, Claire had said to her, she'd been talking to a little boy, and she was upset that he had gone.
Yes.
And she wanted him to come back.
Uh-huh.
And she'd been playing with him. And my mum had said, well, who was it? She obviously thought she was dreaming or something like that.
Right.
And she described him down to a T. Well, like I say, she was 6 months when she died, so she couldn't have possibly remembered, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And she had this little green dicky bow tie. And here it turned out that the Christmas, I mean, I'm going back 32 years.
Uh-huh.
The Christmas before he died, because he died in the November.
Yes.
My mum had knitted him like a green woolly scarf and hat.
Right.
With the gloves to match.
Yes.
And she bought him some little green cords and a green checky shirt to go.
Uh-huh.
And she buried him in them. And my sister still had the dicky bow tie.
Oh, right.
And we've still got it to this day.
Fantastic. What a great story.
I know.
Brilliant.
But my grandma was also a medium.
Uh-huh.
And about 4 or 5 years after he died, Michael used to have this little rocking horse, like one of them big metal ones that used to go in the back garden and it had springs.
Yes.
And he'd... Obviously, when he died, it went to my sister when she was old enough to use it.
Right.
When she grew out of it, it went to me.
Uh-huh.
And we moved house when I was about 6, and we never used to play with it anymore. And it was just sat in the back garden.
Yes.
Obviously, not in use. And the family next door were really, really quite poor. And they had no toys. They had about 5 kids. And my mum, was in 2 minds whether or not to give the horse away to the kids next door, but because it was Michael's originally, she didn't want to give it away.
Right.
So she says, well, she didn't say anything to anybody about it, and then my grandma had rang her the next day and said, I've got a message for you from Michael, because she was a medium.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I don't know what it means, but he said to tell you that it's okay about the horse. So she gives it to the kids next door.
So the thing that was on her mind that she wanted an answer from, she got.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Basically.
That is amazing.
But me Auntie Eve as well.
Yeah.
I'll be quick, sorry, I know
That's okay, don't you worry, crack on.
Me Auntie Eve used to, I'm talking years ago again.
Yes.
You know, the rainbow rooms in the co-op in the town?
Yes, of course.
She painted them and decorated them.
Was the top floor, wasn't it? Or?
Yes, And the bloke who owned them used to have, he was rich and he had loads of properties and stuff like that. And she used to go out with him, that's how she got the job in the first place. And he put her up. My boyfriend wants to talk to you for me. He put her in one of his properties anyways, and she was living in this flat.
Yes.
And she couldn't understand all these women. There was all women, there was no men lived there, all women.
Yeah.
And there was men coming in and out all the time. She didn't know what was going on. And again, my grandma had said to me, Mum, I've got a message for Eve. She said, I don't know what it means. Just tell her that the man at the end of the rainbow spells danger. So my mum told me Auntie Eve, and she thought nothing of it.
Yes.
And then it was about 6 months later, she found out he was running like a whorehouse. And there was loads of prostitutes living there, and obviously that explains all the men coming
Yes,
and
it
going.
does. Of course it does.
But she was quite good, like.
It is. Good stories, Lynn.
She's gone now, bless her.
Wow, she's over the other side. Well, you might see her later tonight.
Sorry?
You might see her later tonight if you're lucky.
I hope so. I haven't got the chicken blood, though.
Right, well, you can still try it. It makes it less likely, but you never know. Okay?
Well, can I put you on the desk, my boyfriend?
Go on and stick them on.
Stick them on quickly.
Okay.
Hello, Alan.
Hiya.
Right, we went to Chilham Castle, right?
Yeah, what, tonight?
No, it was just after just about a couple of days after that man died when he was up there.
Right, yes.
Right? And we're up there. And you know when you go straight into the castle and you pay your money and that?
Yes.
When the main doors were shut till 1 o'clock. And then you go up that tower and that.
Yes.
When you get right to the top of the tower, there's like a clock thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I went into every room up before I got to there, and then I got up to this tower room, and there was a little crack in the door, and I could see tick, tick, tick. And then I went in, and I opened the door, and when I opened the door, and I went in, I tell you, I nearly shat my pants, because I didn't...
Sometimes it's like clatting floors. Oh, we got Sabrina. Our very own Sabrina is at present at Beamish Hall. Hi, Sabrina.
Hello, Alan.
Did you have any success?
Oh, my God.
What's happened?
I've been in 2 dungeons so far. And the first one was all right to start with. Very cold. Very small room. Not very big at all, square. Obviously, it's been a storeroom or a dungeon in the past.
So you didn't see anything in there?
I didn't see anything.
What about the other one?
The other one is split into 3, and in one section of it was fine.
Yeah.
I carried on walking up the corridor, and it went very cold, and I felt very sick, couldn't breathe, and I felt very much, I was an intruder, and it was horrible. It was really, I couldn't stay in the room. I could not stay in the dungeon. It was that horrible.
Right.
I had a candle with me.
Yes.
And the flame on the candle grew to about 4 inches. Became very thin and was literally dancing all over the place. Alan, I have never been so scared in my life.
Well, you wanted to be.
Yes, I did. Well, not scared, but I wanted to see. And as I've come out of the dungeon, I've spoken to the people who work here. And apparently there's a ghost. It's supposed to be, I didn't know any of this before I went in. There's a ghost in that room of a lady who was locked in a casket and died. Her body was found 2 years after she disappeared. It was just really horrible. I really wouldn't recommend it to anybody.
Well, congratulations. Oh, are you moving on to another place now?
I'm going to another dungeon for half an hour, and then to the haunted bridal suite.
Because the bridal suite's supposed to be the place where most people have seen stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to do that in the final hour.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sabrina. We'll probably be catching back up with Sabrina if anything happens there. I want to try and hit as many people as we can. Who's this? And it's Tasha, who says, Alan, I wasn't going to do the incantation, changed my mind at the last minute. As a mark of respect, I already had a candle lit in front of the mirror, so I took a knife, cut a groove in the wax, kneeled down in front of the mirror. When it came to the fourth line of the incantation, I changed my mind. I was going to get up and put the light on, but remembered you said don't break the circle before it started, so stayed put, finished the prayer. When it came to opening my eyes, I didn't want to, but I did. Looked to the left of me in the mirror, and a shadow moved very quickly behind me. The next thing that happened, I had an intense emotional feeling, and then total peace. I'm not afraid, though. I was apprehensive before. I now feel totally safe, relaxed, and pleased that I did it. We have a very close relative in spirit. I don't know, but there is a lot of love in this room tonight. Blessed be. Thank you very much, Tasha. And Stephen has sent me another webcam picture. Says, can you see the face? It might be you, but I doubt it. Let me have a look. Another webcam photograph. Oh, I see the face. No, that's not me. I'm ugly, but I'm not. I don't look like that. And Mick and Gateshead said, I've been lying in the bath with the candles on. I got a cold shiver and the candles went out. And a breeze went past me just as if somebody walked past me. Loads of pictures about the emails about the webcam. Carlin Hewitt did the thing. I'm terrified. I've got a pain in my bowels. I saw a figure in the mirror. He was standing backwards. He then turned around. I caked my kegs right then. Jumped out of my seat. He disappeared. There's a distinct smell of roses in the room. I'm really shaken up, he says. Who else have we got out there then? An Anonymous from Blythe on 7. Hello, Anonymous.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, me darling.
Yeah, it's not about the ritual what you done the night.
Right.
I was about 13, and me and my sister was staying over at my auntie's.
Yes.
Right, and I woke up in the middle of the night. For some reason, I was wide awake.
Yes.
Right, and I've actually seen my sister's spirit come out of her body and walk across the room into the bathroom.
Whoa. You saw a spirit?
Yes, and she's alive and kicking the day. She's only a year younger than me.
So this is the thing that we've sometimes heard about, like astral projection, or the soul leaves the body for a while and has a flit around.
Yeah, I reckon so.
What did you do?
Well, I shouted on her, because I thought it was her at first, but I shouted on her and it looked. But for some reason, I thought it didn't look like her properly, so I looked at the bed and she was still in bed, and this spirit looked identical to her, wearing the same clothes and everything.
Right, that's a brilliant story. Brilliant story. Anon, thank you for calling.
Right.
Good stuff. I know we're cracking through them quickly. We got so much to get in. Now, I'm going to play you another noise. Now, these are ones that I consider to be true. You can judge for yourself, but everything about these things tell me they're real. Got an awful lot of fakes. Trust me, I tend to be able to know the difference. If doubters want to find out whether their own homes are haunted, there are a variety of techniques known as spirit traps. The simplest is to simply wait until you're going out or going to bed and you switch on a tape recorder. Now, I asked people to do that a few months ago, and we got a result. Only 5 people sent me cassettes. This was one of them. Joanne Harris of Peterlee, County Durham, did it September 2002, this year. In her sleep, she'd been suffering from visions of her sister Susan, who died in a car accident in March. Joanne, who'd been in the same car, felt guilty that she should have survived when her sister died of severe head injuries. Joanne said, I was sitting beside Joanne, who was driving. We were chatting away because, unlike a lot of sisters, we really get on well. I loved her so much. She was 2 years older than me and really was the best big sister anybody could have. The night before, she'd said to me, if anything should happen to me, look after Mum, and I'll come back and let you know that everything's all right. I told her not to be so stupid, but she went on to say that she'd had a feeling that she would die early in her life. Just looking at her face, I knew she wasn't joking. So I tried to change the mood by saying, well, all I want to know is whether you're in hell or whether you're in heaven, surrounded by roses and with our gran. She held both of my hands and she said, I promise. It was a frightening moment because it was obvious she wasn't kidding. Well, the nightmare happened the next day. Coming back from a shopping trip to Leeds, a drunken motorist slammed into the car that we were in and Susan died at the scene. I looked over at her and her face was just no longer there. I knew she was dead. I screamed and I screamed and I blacked out. I woke up in hospital and I knew she was gone. Ever since, I've dreamt about her, and she was talking to me, but I couldn't understand what she was trying to say. So on her birthday, I heard you say, run a tape recorder. So I set my mini disc player to record on the cabinet of my living room, surrounded by her photographs. Once in bed, I said to her out loud that if she was there to let me know, and that I still loved her with all of my heart, and I always will. Now, the following day, she completely forgot about the recording until she saw that all of the picture frames surrounding the recording device had fallen down around the mini-disc player. There were footsteps, breathing, banging, drawers opening and closing, and clear as day, the voice of her dead sister shouting, "Roses, Jojo, roses." Well, Susan says it's definitely her. Well, it's definitely her. And this, in fairness, that mini-disc recorder had run for approximately 20 minutes. There was 20 minutes of just nothing, occasionally the odd creak that could be like, in some normal house. And then I picked this up. What about that? Alan Robson's Night Owls, 01914 883188. Someone is still whispering over the top of you, says Bruce in Pennywell, and then he's let a long email scream on here. Can you hear anybody? We absolutely can't. Abby here, just done the thing. Baby woke up immediately when you finished. Looked in the mirror. I saw someone sitting in the chair behind me. I don't recognize who it is, but my whole body is very cold. I'm not scared. I'm more relaxed, but the room is very cold. And Stephen in Forest Hall, my mum was on your show tonight, Nadine. She tried your thing. Nothing happened. She didn't have any chicken blood, but she did get a pain down her left leg. I've looked at the webcam. We can't make out the strange shapes that's on it. This is one hell of a Halloween. Dave says, I was wondering if you're doing the ritual on air again anytime tonight. No. Alan, did the incantation, opened my eyes. My dad jumped in the room and nearly plopped a brick. He's been listening all along, waiting to scare me. Right, but you see, he's stopped you seeing something real that would have scared you too. And John in Burnup Field, energy orbs. Do they always appear white or can they appear blue? They can be any colour at all. We've had red ones. Another webcam shot, very weird. Like flashes, streaks of light. It's amazing what we're getting on the webcam tonight. It's one of the highlights of the evening. These webcam shots will be on our website very, very soon. Give me more callers. Let's have them. Stephen from North Shields is with us on line 4. Hiya, Stephen.
Hi, Alan.
Hello, mate. Anything happened for you?
Well, I've done it. I've done it a couple of years ago.
Right.
And I had an experience then. My daughter is sitting next to us here, and she done it, and she just had the Walkman on in the back kitchen, and she came flying through the door, blaring her eyes out. She's only stopped crying the last 10 minutes.
Really?
She says she's seen her face. She's sitting next to us here. She's shaking like a good one.
Right.
But she's seen her face behind her, but she also smelled like a moisty, like a sort of
horrible
an
smell.
old smell as well.
Yeah.
She couldn't actually recognise the face. Because I mean, I didn't listen because I've done it before and it freaked me. And she says when you says to close one eye or look one way or the other way.
Yes.
And I mean, literally, she came through the door like a bat out of hell. And I mean, the Walkman, that just went all over the place. The batteries came out, the tape came out, the whole lot. So, you know, I mean, she's just calmed down the last 10, 15 minutes.
Did you not warn her that something was going to happen, was likely to happen?
Yeah, I did, because, I mean, I'd done it a few years ago when I was lying in bed and the whole curtains in the bedroom just lifted.
Yes.
And I freaked. And then, you know, only a few years after that, when you had the ghost hunters out.
Yes, that's right.
And you had the girls in the wood.
Yes.
I mean, I heard that voice coming over the top, which I know you played a few times and you said you couldn't hear it.
Right.
You know, telling them to get out of there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I've always told the kids, you know, I mean, you always do a good show on anyway, but
thank you.
Halloween is an absolute blinder, you know.
Bless your heart.
But, yeah, she's sitting here. I mean, she's got tears in her eyes again, actually. I think she's off you thinking about it.
Yes.
But,
well,
no,
she wanted it and she got it.
Yep, she certainly did. I mean, my other daughter, she's a bit of a ghoul hunt, you know. She likes to, you know, the Chillingham castles and things.
She'd scare them back, you think?
I think she probably would. She's been trying to persuade us to take her up to have a look around, but I think it's closed for night time.
Oh, yes, it certainly is. But, Stephen, thank you for that. Look after the Ben for me, please. Thanks, mate. Bye-bye. 0191 488 3188. I've still got some... I got particularly two noises that you've just got to hear. Just under no circumstances do you miss them. They're very, very special. And on a night such as this, we've got all of our stars all over the entire region. And I'm not quite sure where Simon Crabtree is, but he's on the line now. Hiya, Simon.
Hi, Alan.
Hello, so where are you tonight?
Yeah, I'm in Stainmore.
Right.
Which, for those who don't know, it's near Bowes. But I'm in my car, and after hearing some of your tales tonight, there is no way I am getting out. I'm staying here. The doors are locked, and I'm staying here. I'm actually here. It was you actually told me. It was in the newspaper just a couple of months ago. I'm out to check a story about the Hand of Glory.
Oh, tell us about that.
Well, it's not a recent story as such. I mean, it goes back to sort of the middle 1800s.
Yeah.
And just to briefly explain what the Hand of Glory is, because it's quite disgusting, to be honest. In the sort of 1800s, your stereotypical thief would always have a jemmy, a skeleton key, a swag bag, and one of these Hands of Glory, and it's really disgusting. Basically, they would find a recently hanged body and chop off its hands.
Right.
And then they'd squeeze all the blood out of it, and then they'd sort of do a self-embalming job on it, so they'd sort of shove salt and pepper and saltpeter inside the hand.
Right.
And then stick it out in the sun to dry, and dogs would steal them occasionally, apparently. It sort of beats getting a mouse on your doorstep, doesn't it? A hand.
Yeah.
And it would sort of all dry, and the skin would tighten, and all this saltpeter would sort of all mank up, and it'd turn into a sort of sickly, pinky brown sort of hand.
Yeah, like a claw almost.
If you like, yeah. And basically, the robbers used to, I mean, they'd even make their own candles from the fat from this hanged man. It was sort of like a dangling DIY store, if you like, on this body.
Uh-huh.
And they'd wedge the homemade candles between these fingers on this Hand of Glory, and they'd take them out on jobs with them, and thieves had sort of believed that it would open locks that they couldn't open, it would make them invisible, and what have you.
Yeah.
I mean, as it happened, the smell of these hands would more often than not wake up the household and give them away. But the reason why I'm here in Stainmore, because there used to be a pub, more or less, well, I hope more or less, around here where I am. There's actually a farmhouse here now, but there used to be a pub called the Old Spittle Inn.
Right.
And many years ago, the landlord was keeping his eye on this old sort of hunchback woman who was in front of the fireplace, keeping herself warm.
Yeah.
And he's sort of getting a bit suspicious of her because she kept looking around, and it didn't help. She had like a stubbly chin anyway.
Right.
But her right hand was a bright green. So the landlord was sort of getting a bit wary, and in the end, she started getting shifty, he got shifty, he made a grab for her, and the hand came off.
Oh.
And it turned out this woman wasn't a woman, it was a man, and he'd just done a burglary at a local house, and it turned out this hand was the Hand of Glory.
Right.
And this guy sort of went mental because he thought he was invisible,
yeah,
and what have you, and he stormed out, and the landlord threw this hand into the fireplace. And then they looked at this hand, and it started to crackle and then crawl out of the fireplace onto the floor and then come towards the landlord. So there was sort of panic and pandemonium, and one of the old serving ladies thought that she knew how to deal with these hand of glory. She'd seen it happen before, and she had a knife from behind the bar. She slit all the way across her hand and plunged her hand into a big jug of milk that they had, so the milk sort of went all reddy, bloody coloured and what have you, and then threw the milk all over this hand. So it sort of crackled and spit, and then eventually gave up, and its life expired, and the lady believed that this was actually what it was, and she'd done it with the use of blood and milk and what have you, and expired it.
And I gather the story was that some people were walking through Stainmoor and felt a hand grabbed at their ankles. And when they looked down, there was nobody attached to the hand.
Well, don't say that, because I'm sitting here all on my own in this car. I'm expecting a tap, tap, tap any second on the window and me to turn round. And, well, they'd heard, and it delved all down, and the scientists have actually, I mean, they always try and have these beliefs. Oh, well, yes, it wasn't supernatural, Alan. You see, what happened was, and they believe that it was all these chemicals that were shoved into the hand, and they thought that somebody had been sort of trying to reproduce this hand of glory. Sort of, I don't like to use the word Satanists or people who sort of study witchcraft, and they tried to reproduce this from the 1800s, which is why this hand was moving around. But what I actually think was that because all these chemicals and fat and what have you were in there, when it had been heated up, it actually started to sort of crawl itself.
Right.
Because the hand was sort of re-expanding again, and to create a sort of crawling movement. So the woman who sort of sliced her hand open and shoved in this milk was probably wasting time. But who knows?
Who knows?
It's done enough to scare the hell out of me anyway. I can't find this old Spittle pub. I can just find this farmhouse where they said it used to be.
Simon, you've got a puncture. Why don't you walk up to the farmhouse?
I'm calling the AA. If you think I'm getting out of this car...
Thanks a lot.
Wait a minute, there's a hand tapping at the window.
Stay safe, Simon. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, Alan.
There is our superstar, Simon Crabtree. You're going to be here. Here's exclusive commentary of the Sunderland games for the rest of the season. Now, we got so much going on. I must play you a horrible story and an amazing recording. But we got so many calls on air, so many emails. Chris and Gate said, my friend saw shadows walking across the room behind him, except for one shadow that seemed standing still watching him. He turned around. The room was empty. So we got that. And we've had just so many. I know a lot of you are sending in emails that are like 3 or 4 pages long. And here we go. Lee in South Shields. I saw a face other than my own. I was sitting on a large cushioned chair. I couldn't get up. I tried to move. I couldn't. The mirror blurred, not my eyes, but the sight in the mirror. I could see entities, shapes moving, a constant pressure on my face, and I clearly saw a beheaded man. We have had a visitor in our house. Our dogs have noticed several things, but we haven't seen anything. The only way I could break the vision in the mirror was to blow out the candle. After I did this, I was able to straighten up and eventually move again. My body is tingling. Thank you for an incredibly interesting event. A beheaded man. Anna is in Holy Island. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Alan.
Hello, darling. Have you seen anything?
Oh, Alan, we were at the Priory, and we went across, and we decided just to be dead quiet and just wait and see if anything happened.
That's the best way to be. Well done.
Just watching everything out the corner of our eyes, trying not to turn our heads and everything.
Yes.
And we saw some orbs.
Orbs?
Coming from one of the sides of one of the tombstones. And I'm absolutely petrified.
I was going to say, if seeing them come from a grave gives them a bit of an extra boost, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've returned to come out. I was just beside myself. It just felt awful. Just standing there, really oppressive.
Yeah.
It was just awful. And as I turned to leave, my partner Gary said he saw a shadow standing by the entrance of the Priory.
Fantastic.
I didn't want to leave that way because he said he sees somebody standing there. But I've had to come out. I'm absolutely petrified.
Right.
I want to leave, but obviously I can't leave for another hour.
Because the tide's in, or
the tide, I'm stuck here. And I'm just absolutely petrified. My heart's thumping. But it was just a horrible feeling, Alan.
And you're stuck with the dead people for another hour?
I am, yeah. It's horrible. I just want to get out. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
Right.
I just want to get out and go home. The feeling, it felt like I shouldn't be in there. It was just horrible, really oppressive and just depressing. A horrible feeling.
Well,
so,
well done, though. You at least had the guts to go and look for these things. Well
never
done.
Again.
Well, we're proud of you, Anna. But
Thanks very much, Alan.
You're getting what you wanted, aren't you?
Yeah, I know. I believe it now, but that's enough for me. I think I've had enough.
Well, unless you can swim, it might not be enough.
I know. I'm going to have to just wait it out, really, aren't I?
Yeah, good luck.
Thanks very much,
Thanks,
Alan.
darling. Bye-bye. Isn't she done really well? Well done, Anna, who is in Holy Island. The tide has come in. She can't get home for another hour. We've got Peter in Lowfell. Hiya, Peter.
Hello, mate. You alright?
Yes, fine. What you got for us?
Right, well, I just did a bit jobby there. And I did it, and then sort of kept my eyes closed and all the rest of it.
Right.
The only thing I did different was I bought some chicken, but it didn't get us off any juice. So I just used a teaspoon with a bit of chicken in the middle of it, and just sort of burnt the chicken on the candle, if you like.
Right, well, you get supper as well, then?
I don't know. I wouldn't fancy eating it, like.
No.
It was a bit black.
Okay.
Anyhow, I've done this thing a few times before, and I've had different things and stuff, and I've spoken to you before, and I don't know if you remember, but there was one of them, I told you I felt like a whirlwind coming up from around my feet. You actually played it again the next Halloween afterwards.
Yeah, I was going to say that was about 2 years ago, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, mate, yeah. Last year I did it, and the whole room just went icy cold.
Yeah.
Tonight I did it, and I'm living with my girlfriend now, which is just why I'm going on to the next story there.
Yeah.
But I went upstairs and I did it, and I was looking left to right. I had two different mirrors, one on the wall and one on like a dressing table, if you like.
Yes.
And I was looking at both of them, nothing was happening. I was closing my eyes and I was getting so frustrated, and I was saying to myself, you know, in my head, for God's sake, you know what I mean,
yeah.
do something, you know?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, didn't see a thing, but a really warm, comforting hand on my shoulder. Really, it was lovely, Alan. It was lovely. It was scary, but lovely.
I was going to say, it's one of those double-edged things. You like it, but you don't.
But get this. I came downstairs, and I explained it to my girlfriend and stuff, you know, and said no more about it. And I said I was going to phone yourself and let you know.
Yeah. And
she was very quiet. And then the next thing I would ask you to understand is, our brother was killed in a car crash of 96.
Right.
Summer 96.
Yeah.
And to pretty much of a broken heart, her mum died in January 97, so 6 months between them. And while I was doing it, she got, like, you know, she got quite teary-eyed, if you like.
Yeah.
For no particular reason, just thinking of her mum. And that was the same time I got a comforting hand on my shoulder.
All right. So you think that it could be a mum trying to reassure her?
Yeah.
That's a brilliant tale. Peter, thanks for doing it again with us.
No problem, mate.
Cheers.
Good work. Loving the night.
Good lad. 0191 488 3188. You'll not believe that. I just wish I could give you some kind of idea how many emails that I'm getting from people that have done this. I'm a chicken and I won't try to contact any spirits. I'd wet myself. Don't scare me with any noises. I hate them. What's the webcam pointing at? Because I see weird lights and shape that keep changing. The webcam is pointing at me. I'm wearing black and I'm about 3 yards away from it. And problem is, our lights went out after less than an hour doing night owls. They're still out. We can't get them back. Anne says, just tuned in, you're reading emails from people that can see things. Problem is, all I can see is a weird grey screen. There you go. What do you have it pointing at? It's just pointed. Can I turn it round a bit? Well, I can't reach it. It's about 2 yards away. And it's mounted at the present moment. And there's all kinds of different things happening. Have you got a candle with you? Because the webcam has a bright orange light. No? We're at pitch black here. And also, a lot of spooky stuff. I'm just flicking through as many as I can. Oh, here we go. Harold in Heworth did the incarnation. It was spooky. I saw smoke swirling around the room. I could smell it and had a musky feel. I heard noises, some quiet, some loud. Never believed this, but now I believe it. And lots of webcam stuff. did my own ritual in Bedlington. 2 candles, a glass, rose petals. Was passed on to my mother. And the candles to keep in the spirit in the glass. Contacts the spirit. The petals are supposed to show you mean no harm to the dead. We did this ritual. We both looked at each other. We heard noises from the outhouse. We ran out into the dark. There was a shadow in the corner of the room. Heard a sudden crack, a lot of pain. I swore. My partner came in screaming, thinking I'd been attacked. I'd stood on a mouse trap. Fantastic. Who else is out there in the dark? And Barbara from Chillingham Castle. Hello, Barbara.
Hello.
Well, we've had all kinds happening everywhere. Is there anything happening at Chillingham?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Oh. So are you separated? Are you in places on your own?
We're all stuck in an office at the moment.
Why?
And then we're going to go out. We've been down to the lake.
Right.
It was very nice and calm. It was peaceful.
Are you going mob-handed, though? Are you going all in like a big group?
No, 3 of us.
Right, because the way you've got to do this is to go into one place on your own and focus in.
Right, so everybody has to split up, do they?
Absolutely, you've got to be on your own. If there's 2 or 3 of you, the energies that you're getting are other people's energies, and that's not what you want. You want anything else that's there. So if you are in a room on your own, completely on your own, then you listen, you feel, and you see. You'll have a much better chance of seeing something.
Right, Alan, I've got 3 lads here.
Okay.
Tell me which rooms you want them to be put in.
Okay, I want 1 guy in the Edward room.
1 guy in the Edward room. Right.
1 guy in the torture chamber.
Torture chamber.
And another guy in the Great Hall, but at the far end of the Great Hall next to the tapestry.
Right. The Great Hall next to the tapestry.
And why don't you go into the oubliette, the little tiny dungeon?
In the tiny dungeon?
Yes.
The lock is in?
Well, you might as well go in there. That's the place where everybody else has had experiences.
Right. Right.
You want to see something, otherwise it just becomes a social night.
Right.
Go for it, Barbara.
Right. And also, we had a raffle here tonight.
Yes.
Right.
For charity.
Yeah. The number is number 50, and it's somebody called Hog.
Hog. They've won. Congratulations. And thanks to everybody that bought tickets, because it's for a very good cause.
Yeah. Do you want to speak to any of the others?
Has anybody seen anything?
No.
Nobody's had any. Well, wait until you've got one, then we'll get you straight on the show.
Right. So if we say anything, we have to come straight back on to you.
Absolutely. That's what we do. Okay?
Right.
Thanks, darling. Bye-bye. Isn't it strange? The only place where we kind of banked on stuff happening is the one place where nothing's happened yet. Now, on the outskirts of Ripon in Yorkshire, local councils were encouraged by government to build new houses in the early 70s. Some new blood flooded into the town, obviously made famous by the racecourse, to take advantage of good homes in a beautiful rural setting. Yet under the feet of the new residents, there was something a lot darker than had ever been encountered in such a sleepy suburban setting. The building industry had been flattened by a recession, and many tradesmen had lost their jobs as unemployment rose. So the signing of a contract to build hundreds of new homes saved a lot of local companies from going under. Now, this is where a web of subterfuge began spinning, much to the discomfort of local politicians. The 3 new estates were agreed, signed up, work began on schemes that would effectively save the economic life of the town. Well, all was going well until, whilst clearing an area of scrub on the outskirts of town, labourers found a low wooded area falling away some 30 feet from the level of the land. They hacked away nettles, years of nettles, ferns, stones, uncovering a wall of earth that had been held in place by roots and undergrowth. Now, free from such constraints, it started to bulge, so the workmen suggested bringing in a JCB digger to try and pull down the earth and fill part of the area in so they could use the land for housing. That night, almost on cue, the sky blackened, it began to rain. It wasn't an ordinary downpour, it was like a monsoon. Vertically, storm hung over Ripon for almost 8 hours. Local rivers flooded, some homes suffered damages. Yet on the earthworks, there was a big change. The JCB arrived at 8:30 the following morning to find that the place where the hole had been was now almost completely filled with the fallen earth that had tumbled down to fill it. It was then that a workman spotted something jutting out from the clay soil. It was a skeletal human hand. It seemed to be beckoning him towards it, almost hypnotizing him. On reaching the bones, he looked about him, and in every direction, as far as the eye could see, there were bones. Skulls with eyeless sockets seemed to stare towards him. He screamed, ran back to the vehicle, and on telling the site manager, he called in his employer, who had years of experience in the industry, and he knew that if this was an ancient graveyard, that the entire project would be delayed, maybe even scrapped. Now, he had agreed to complete the development by a certain date, or he would invoke a massive financial penalty that would almost destroy his profit margin, maybe even destroy his business. Only 2 people knew about the bodies, so he gave the driver instructions to take a wagon, collect tons of topsoil from his yard, and cover the bodies to a depth up to 15 feet. Until that area was done, they put flags up to keep people away from it. The other labourers were amazed after 3 days of deliveries that low decline was now a very pronounced hill. The housing estate was built. The builder got a huge bonus along with a handsome profit. Leaving the running of his business to his son, he retired in luxury. The JCB driver, according to myth or legend, accepted £2,000 allegedly. A fortune at that time to buy his silence. Yet in 1989, when he was very ill with angina, he told his wife, who would soon be a widow, not wishing to blacken his name, she phoned me on air to tell me that this had been done, but refused to give his name. You may remember this call. Other building tradesmen confirmed that this practice was commonplace when subcontractors are hired to oversee sites. Nothing must stand in the way of profit. So far, this was a sad tale of the betrayal of the dead, nothing more. Until January 2001, when I received a letter from Sue, who'd moved into a house in Ripon with a 5-year-old daughter and had been beset by a relentless catalogue of misfortune. I asked her to call in a priest or vicar for a blessing. It didn't work, nor did the subsequent exorcist. In fact, things had taken a distinct turn for the worst. Her daughter Natalie had begun talking to a number of invisible friends that would come to her room every night. Natalie told her mum, they've got funny faces with big spots all over and they're very smelly. The house was suffering from a horrid rotting cabbage stench that pervaded everything. Single mother Sue had seen figures crossing rooms, passing by doors. A strange and irritating scratching could be heard every night beneath their feet. So concerned that it might have been rats or mice under her floorboards, she brought in a team of pest controllers who found no sign of vermin. They did see signs that someone or something had been clawing at the wood beneath her floor. On quiet nights, there seemed to be moaning noises, best heard in the kitchen. Now, I suggested that she leave a recorder running in the kitchen. We gave her the recorder. The night had been completely uneventful. She expected nothing to be on the tape, so while putting up a packed lunch for her daughter who was going to school, she played a hissy tape. It was quiet for about 15 minutes, and then a lot of stuff started happening. Banging, hammering, and finally, something that was like a bark. It came from some kind of creature, but not really an animal. She dropped everything, got Natalie to school. She sent the tape to me, along with a photograph of the house. It was the only one on her housing estate built on a mound. I flicked through my records for Rip and found the earlier story, and things fit into place. On researching history of the area, I was surprised to find a link to Cuthbert, the Bishop of Lindisfarne, Holy Island, who would later be a saint. It was his earthly dealings that brought him to Ripon. Cuthbert had been a soldier responsible for killing and maiming before entering Melrose Abbey in 651 AD. He then moved to Ripon to preach and work with the poor, particularly plague victims. Writings from the time confirmed that Cuthbert gave succour to all in need in a wooded glade far from the town, lest the plague spread to all. Forests had covered the area at the time, and it would be easier to hide the disfigured, sore-ridden souls away from the eyes so easily offended. The majority that had perished were not allowed to be buried in a churchyard, so they were placed in a huge dugout chamber where body after body could be placed on top of one another. Maybe that graveyard uncovered by a builder had been Cuthbert's plague pit. Would that also explain the child seeing people with funny faces with big spots on their faces that were very smelly? In June 2001, a lay preacher was brought in to sanctify the ground, carrying out a Christian ceremony. A week later, a group of spiritualists from Leeds attended the house for a passing over ritual that they described as most satisfactory. Finally, a pagan seer visited the property, carried out some ancient blessings, and declared the home calm. This doesn't mean that there are no spirits, there are energies around us all the time, but there have been no more disturbances. Sue keeps the tape from that night as a reminder of just what things would be like. I would never play it in the house, she said, in case they heard it and came back. I hope she's not listening tonight, because this is that tape. Well, what about that? Weird. And that is from a woman that's had all kinds, every kind of exorcist imaginable going through her house. Amazing sounds. 01914883188. Did you do the experiment? Get through to us. Literally thousands of you did. And a lot of people who haven't done it are saying, oh, this can't be true. Well, just tell everybody that did it. Just tell everybody that did it. Some of the webcam shots are absolutely amazing. Some of them are even lit, and I don't know how they can be lit because it isn't lit here. We have Ian from Lumley Village on 8. Hello, Ian.
Hi, Alan. How you doing?
I'm good.
Right, okay, well, it's been an interesting night. I mean, it started off a bit strange. First of all, I got lost. Then I actually managed to find it. And as you know, I was going to be on my own tonight.
Right. You're in Lumley Village, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And
Gotcha.
I'm not giving too much away, but I'm in quite, in woods and such.
Right.
So it's quite a scary thing. Lots of things out. My torch went dead early on. Right. I forgot to charge that up. And then my battery on my phone's gone dead. But one good fortune is my friend turned up with me, John Keach from Sutherland as well. So there are two of us now. But with what the entire length of the woods are at now, we've come to a stop, and the reason I've called is because we can see something actually happening now. If we put the torch on, what light we've got left on it, there's just trees up ahead, and I'm talking about 50 yards, trees all the way, thick forest.
Right.
When we turn the light off and we actually look at it, we can see a bright light, and it starts bright, grows duller, then gets brighter over the other side, a bit like a rainbow. But we can see three figures moving around in that light, and we've both seen it. We can see it now. It's happening as I'm talking to you.
Well, it's happening at this moment. You can see figures moving in this weird light.
We've been here for about 20 minutes in this exact spot, and it's been happening concurrently all the time, and it's just following a straightforward pattern. There's three people. Sorry.
It's three figures. You can see
three figures. One small figure, two larger figures.
Right.
And two move together, then the third one joins them, and that sort of blocks out the light that we can see, and then it starts off again, and it starts off with the two people, and it sort of follows a chain as if somebody was dancing or doing some sort of thing, and it seems to step closer to it. Yeah, it comes a bit closer to us as well, and then sort of steps back, but we can see it across the right-hand side as if somebody's walking across as well, but it's just thick trees. There's nothing else there. There's no light. It's not the sort of the end of the woods or anything like that. It's just thick trees, and there's no reason for that light to be there.
How incredible is that?
It's amazing. I mean, as soon as we stepped into this part, because we'd obviously took the wrong turning somewhere, we stepped in.
Yeah.
We both got the same feeling as well. We sort of both went numb. Now, we're not cold, and I wouldn't say we're scared,
right.
But it was just strange sort of numb feeling all over. And we both had that as well, exactly. You know, the things we've described sort of completely tie up without influencing each other.
Right.
So it's
because you see, if you had just said that, people wouldn't believe you, but there's somebody there to back up what you're saying.
Oh, absolutely right, yeah, he can see exactly what I can see as well, and it's happening now. I've got a camcorder with me in as well, and I've tried to do that, but unfortunately it's just not bright enough, and it's just picking up a dark screen, so I can't even get anything from that. So I've got a camera. I want to try that with a flash, just to see if it gets anything back when I develop it. But
because it's light refraction, by the sound of things, with figures moving in the light, I just blimey. But are these three, the three figures, are moving as if 3 human beings were there moving.
Yeah, sort of to the side, sort of just drifting sideways, joining up. Yeah, like a dance, like Ring a Roses or something like that. They just seem to be going back, forward, and then around, and it's just constantly happening. I don't know if anybody else can hear any thunder, but we keep getting blasts of thunder as well. Now, there's no rain at the moment, although there was rain when it started to enter into the woods, and there's lots of strange noises anyway, obviously, as you'd associate with the woods.
Yeah, of course. Oh, hang on. What about that ghostly what I heard him say?
Ghostly owl that we just heard as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. Is it
John heard that.
The Scooby-Doo owl, is it?
I don't... yeah, well, I thought it was an owl, but John's convinced it's not an owl, so... but I never heard it because I was on the phone and I couldn't quite hear it.
But you've got a result as well?
Yeah.
Fantastic. What a heck of a result. Ian, thank you very much for being there. Keep us posted if you see anything else.
Certainly will. I don't think we're going to head too much further towards those figures. Like I said, there's about 150 yards, 50 yards, 150 foot.
Right.
And I think, in circumstances, we'd probably be better off not going too far in.